reports and stuff like that, especially after this off season. Oh, nah, Tree will take care of it for me. Oh God. Oh man. Oh, how are those Giants doing right now? You doing with this team right now? It's like they signed Dalton to a big contract, then they got Foles. It's like, what are you guys doing right now? And then you got
Yeah,
Fields
and
out
then
there.
yeah, and that's the thing with Fields. Like, you don't want him in there too soon because he's developing, and you don't want him to get beat up and have him be ruined as a player headed into his second year. Like, the goal was to not thrust him into the starting lineup, but that might just happen now because they got nobody else. And if they do well, that's even it's even more of an indication of that Matt Nagy doesn't know what he's doing, right? Like, um, or if he gets hurt, like, it's really like a no-win for Matt Nagy. Like, because if they do well, then they're like, oh well, Matt Nagy doesn't know what he's doing starting Dalton,
Yeah.
right? And if they suck, they're going to be like, oh, you're just throwing Fields out there to get his ass kicked for no reason.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
just I don't know what the hell he's doing. The defense is okay until you got rid of Fuller, which was kind of that was a fucked up move right there because he was one of the key guys you can rely on defense. You got Eddie Jackson in the back. You got
Mm-hmm.
Mac, Robert Quinn. He was supposed to be good, but that wasn't a good deal to pick him up. Uh, Defense is on par to make it this season. I'm just hoping they don't fumble the ball like they usually do when they go into the pre go into the postseason, whatever. Especially with the Packers and
Yeah.
all their issues, like this is the best time to capitalize on everything, and I don't think they will. Even though I think it's their series is tied. I think it's like 440 or 400 or something. I don't know, but I know the Bears have to beat the Packers this year.
I think it's gonna be rough. The Packers don't look as good as everyone thought they would, but that's a team that's gonna get right. You might see them get right tonight against the Lions. It's a very real possibility that they just get it together. But oh man, if the Packers start 0-2, that means that the division is completely wide open. The Vikings are just not good right now, even though they gave um, the Cardinals a matchup that they didn't expect. But I mean, the Vikings already 0-2 out the gate. If things happen the way they're supposed to, or we think they will, the Lions will be 0-2 out the gate, and the Bears, yeah, 1-1. Um, it's they won a game they should have this
Yeah.
weekend for sure. It was a game that if they would have lost, they would have been in deep doo doo. But they got the Browns coming up. That's not an easy game.
Oh,
They got the Raiders, who you would think was a pass,
yeah.
like a possible win, but now that's looking not so such a good thing. The 49ers are back. The Bucks are back. Like this is gonna be a tough schedule for the
Man,
Bears
the Bears got like history with
for
those
sure.
two, the Browns and the 49ers. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Bears, I guess, helped the 49ers somehow, and that's how it became their dynasty in the 80s or 90s. The
Hmm.
Browns, I think it was 2001, Browns, Bears, Mike Brown interception back to back. That was the game that I became a Bears fan because before that I wasn't watching sports that much. So when I saw that, I was like, that safety is a fucking idiot, man. That guy's just catching balls everywhere. But I feel bad because Mike Brown's not remembered as much as like all the other safeties out there, even though he was doing a lot of things to help that team during that reign.
Yeah, there was some good Bears in 2000, 2001. I think that was Urlacher was out there, or at least he came. Uh, was that they would make the Super Bowl
Yeah.
soon
It
after?
was oh 06,
Yeah,
25, 06.
once Urlacher showed up.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
played safety
yeah.
first and they moved him to linebacker. It's like, yeah, that's a bad position for you. Cause that defense is like, what if the Bears won that Super Bowl, but they went against Peyton Manning, and I knew that wasn't gonna
Yeah,
last
yeah.
long for those guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they didn't have a quarterback was the problem. You know, you had Rex Grossman and Jay Cutler would come later, and that window kind of closed pretty quickly after that Super Bowl, unfortunately. And then the year that the double doink happened, they could have made a deep run that year too. You know, they definitely had a team that was capable. It was just bad luck happened, and you know the Eagles took advantage of it and rode the hot
Yep.
hand. So
And
it was that was a tragedy in and
it
all of
was.
itself, right there.
And I knew Grossman was going to be the right quarterback for the team because of how inconsistent he was. One day he'd be throwing like 3 touchdowns, the next like 3 interceptions. Like, what are you doing, Grossman?
Yeah, yeah. I think you know playing quarterback is so hard in the NFL, and if you're not one of those elite talents, you have to kind of manage the game, and sometimes just managing a game isn't enough,
Yeah.
right? And if your team doesn't have like a stacked defense or the team needs you to go out and score them some points, unfortunately, you know, it's a different. I don't know, like Peyton Manning. You know, he won a Super Bowl when he was terrible because he had a great defense, but he did just enough to get them there,
Yeah.
right? You know, he started to play well after he had been benched, but some guys just don't have it. They don't have that Super Bowl caliber, take you over the
Yeah, and
hump
it's a lot harder
type
and it's a lot
mentality.
harder for some guys because of the height. Because like Drew Brees was like, oh, he's too short to be a good quarterback, but he went on to win the Super Bowl and broke all those records despite his height. Where there's some guys who are like
Yeah,
what was it, Jeff George? He was tall and he still sucked in the league.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there have been plenty of tall quarterbacks that sucked. That's the funny thing to me. It's like everyone, like, but look at Kyler Murray. He's only 5'7", something like that, and he's doing it out there. So I think yeah, it matters that whether someone can see over the line, but I think in these new offenses where you know they're moving the ball, they're moving the quarterback around. The you know when the snap is taken, everyone's down anyways. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody might stand up, but holes develop, lanes develop. You're supposed to know where those receivers are. So I don't think height really matters as much as long as you're not like 3'4" or something, you know, like a tiny little guy. But Kyler Murray's proving that height doesn't matter as much
Yeah.
now. Knowing the offense
Yeah, and
really
that chemistry you
matters.
need too with your guys because you don't want guys just stopping as
Mm-hmm.
soon as the ball is thrown up and it's like, I'm not gonna get this ball. Then somebody catch it, and it's like interceptions. Like you could have caught the ball. Well, just poor workmanship, and just no, just get rid of the guy. Like for every Drew Brees, there's like a Jeff George, and a
Right.
Jamarcus Russell. Two guys who were supposed to be perfect for a team, but they didn't show up. Especially with Russell and that whole story about how they was telling him to go watch the film. He didn't even open the case.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't even watch the tapes. And then there's guys that I think want it and they're just not good enough. Like I think Joey Harrington was a guy
Oh
where
yes.
I think he clearly wanted to be an NFL quarterback, but he got confused by defenses. He just didn't have the ability. Or Tebow, like I think Tebow really wanted to be an NFL player, but maybe he just couldn't understand things the way that other people see them. And then there's other guys that aren't really touted out of college, but they work hard and they do all the right things and they have the talent. I think that's one thing that people just say, oh, well, Brady, he's obsessed with working. He's also really talented. Like he throws an amazing deep ball. Like no one gives Brady enough. Like I know there's people that like I'm a Brady hater just because he wins all the time. I don't hate his ability at all. I don't question his ability. He's got amazing. He can throw the deep ball because he works on it. You
Exactly.
know.
And now he's just playing for the fun of it, whereas other guys are just, you can see they only chasing the money. Like so many guys are like, oh, I want this 2-year contract, whatever. Then they bounce around the teams. It's like your legacy is gonna be more of a journeyman than like a Super Bowl or a Hall of Famer. But those guys are usually get weeded out about probably 3, maybe 7 years in the league, and just unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't blame those guys though, honestly, for wanting to get paid. Like it's a hard
Yeah.
job, and you're gonna sacrifice your body, your health. Like I don't think there's any player that made it through the NFL that after their career has no problems, right? No physical ailments. I don't see that happening. I think anybody that plays in the NFL and gets a pension, last 4 years in the league, their body's banged up. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are, unless maybe you're a punter or a kicker. And even then, a kicker's put in a lot of work to get there, just to be that elite. Because anytime there's a job where only 30 people in the world do it, you gotta
Yeah.
sacrifice on the way to or 32 people do that job. You've got to be elite and you got to put in the work because someone will come take
Exactly.
your
And
job.
with all the things
Oh,
after
okay.
football, like starting a business, working for other companies, so be like McAfee and do podcasts. There's a lot of things you can do now. Whereas back then,
Yeah,
guys was
yeah,
just one and done. They didn't do nothing else.
yeah. And I know a lot of people that spent time on a practice squad or maybe had a cup of coffee in the NFL, and they they said that the speed of the game was just amazing and a lot more intense than they thought it was. Coming out of college,
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people that played even all 4 years in college and couldn't believe the level of the jump from college to the
Yeah,
pros.
that's a huge jump right
It
there.
was tough for them. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Like, I was a very average athlete, and even so, I was always in awe of just the people starting. I was like, oh, those guys are really good. Um, but yeah, I couldn't imagine being that talented. But when I played sports, like you could tell who was so much better than everyone
Exactly. And
else.
there's some guys who just take it to another level and be like, I'm just gonna do this so I can show off for you guys. Like, guys, this is just recreational. You just overdoing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's true. It's true. But some guys that you see them play and they're just that much better, and you're like, wow, that guy's gonna be something. And I've played against some guys that made it to the major leagues, and yeah, you could tell right away that they had something that was a difference maker for sure.
exactly. And there's guys who you just give them like probably 3 to 5 years. Some of them are late bloomers to catch up to the game. But with how the league is, the money's not guaranteed. So guys are not going to I'm gonna say put as much effort with a team that they know that's not gonna help them. Like being on the Lions, Max Stafford, he didn't benefit that much from it except for numbers and in that contract. but at the same time, he wasn't getting to the Super Bowl. He's not making the playoffs. He's like one and done pretty much.
Yeah, I think what the problem with Stafford is they didn't really develop around him. Like they just kind of took him for granted, his ability as a passer. And I think it was kind of ugly between Detroit and him. They put a lot of blame, unfair blame, on him when they mismanaged. They put a lot of coaches out in front of him. They didn't build a defense. Like they mistreated a lot of players. I mean, Megatron
Exactly.
quit. He just didn't want to play anymore. Like it makes you wonder about the organization around him. And then to see him do well now and handle himself with the Rams, like it just further kind of gives evidence or creed that Detroit is not a good place to be a good football player. It's pretty obvious
Exactly.
now. So yeah, I'm happy for Matt Stafford to be out of that situation. So hopefully he's and what do you do if you're Detroit? Like you're like, oh, how are you going to develop players or get people to come want to play for you if it's pretty evident that you're letting a lot of you've mishandled a lot of
Exactly.
talent
Barry
in the
Sanders, Dick Lane, Megatron,
Mhm.
Stafford. I mean, that's at least four iconic players for your team over those decades, and you mistreated them. So it's like, what do you benefit going to Detroit unless you want to go there for a payday? Otherwise, you're not going to get to the Super Bowl or do anything with your career there.
Right. And then look at, like, even Ndamukong Suh, he went and won a ring last year. Darius Slay has moved on. Even Kenny Galladay didn't want to be there. Like these are all guys that can play that have gone through Detroit and were like, I'm out of here. So it's a tough situation if you're Detroit for sure. I don't think any other franchise has that many sour apples with ex players. where if you ask and Uche, my boy Uche says, yeah, if you ask Megatron what he thinks about Detroit, he just won't say anything. He'll be like, nah, he doesn't want to talk
Yeah, I
about it.
wouldn't either. It's just, to me, at this point, it's like the Lions and the Jaguars are the two most snake bitten franchises in the league right now. With how many guys are just going to social media like, I want out of this city, I want out of this team, and then the next time they
Yeah.
go somewhere, they win something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at the Jaguars, they were a couple minutes away from a Super Bowl, and then now that almost that entire team is gone.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, and Jalen Ramsey's playing good football now. Like that's the thing. Like when they got him last year, he wasn't all that acclimated to the Rams scheme, but now he's doing his job, and that's you just see how the Jaguars let a lot of people come get forced out of their buildings.
Exactly.
So that was
And the
sad.
thing is, before they was bought in 2013, they were pretty much one of the best teams in the South. They had Garrard, they had Leftwich, Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Drew, Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
And it's
Yeah.
like something with the ownership is causing these guys not wanting to stay there long term. Whereas before they was bought, I think it's like 3 years stretch that they went out and they didn't sign nobody from free agency, but yet they still had a good team. But now it's like you're only there for 2, maybe 3 years, then you leave. Like Allen Robinson was the next best one,
Yeah, yeah.
and he left.
Yeah. I think that's part of the NFL too. Like, I'm not going to say that, I would know how to run a franchise any better. I think players come and go, but you see patterns with winning organizations like the Packers, the Patriots. You see patterns with teams like the Steelers that have had sustained success where they go out, they evaluate talent, they find talent. Like, it seems like some organizations just do it better than others. And the Jaguars and the Lions don't seem to fall into that do it better than others category. Now the Bears, they're in that kind of boat too, where it's been a long time since they've won a Super Bowl. It's been a long time since they've been to a Super Bowl, and when other teams are making it, the Buccaneers even got back and won one. It's frustrating if you're a fan of these teams that have had prolonged droughts and a lack of success. So, but others, that haven't, it's been 10 years for the Packers too, and they're considered one of the best run organizations. It's been a long time for the Steelers as well. So it's hard to win consistently in the NFL, but win championships at least. But winning as a whole, winning as an organization, and playing meaningful football, you look to a couple teams and they're almost always there,
Exactly.
right?
And like the
For
Steelers,
sure.
I'm pretty sure they're getting close to that rebuild because Big Ben, he doesn't have it anymore compared with what he used to have like 3 years ago. Just in that whole
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna have to manage him. They're gonna have to play good defense. I think they're in trouble if they can't pull out wins like they did against
yeah,
Buffalo, right? Big Ben's deep ball, like he's not gonna. They got to manage him. They don't want him trying to throw the ball deep because his deep ball looks ugly. He overthrew a bunch of receivers. He threw balls that you just question why he's throwing the ball. Like his body is betraying him, and it's kind of tough to
yeah.
watch right now. So who knows how the season will go? They might get it together. They might be able to manage him and win some games, but at the same time, could go south. As I was surprised that the Raiders played them so tough, especially after they beat the Bills so
Yeah, and the
handily.
Bills,
You
they're
know,
coming back just like the Browns. Like all the teams we used to rag on, they're starting to get their stuff together and coming back. And it's like you
yeah.
can't get on the Bills anymore. That's not an easy win. You can't get on the Browns anymore because that's not an easy win.
No, the Browns used to be an auto win. Like, oh my gosh, we're gonna take them behind the woodshed. It's not like that anymore. I think that's the thing with teams is they just get sick of losing, and they're like, all right, we're gonna do it our way. We're gonna get draft picks. We're gonna get Myles Garrett. We're gonna get Nick Chubb. We're gonna get Baker Mayfield, and we're gonna put together a team. And yeah, the Browns they were tough against Kansas City, and they go out and get right. They're 1-1 now, and they're gonna let's see who they're gonna play next. The Browns will be playing. They got the
Oh,
Bears next, right? So I mean, that should be a game that they got them at home too, and then they got the
oh,
Vikings after that. Like they should sweep these next two games and be right back in the playoff hunt. And they could be a low key team that could win, compete for a Super Bowl. They let the Texans hang
oh,
around, but they also got it
yeah.
done.
Man, you can't let the Texans stay in the game just like the Falcons. You need to put these guys away at least 21 points. Then after that, just have fun. God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to win the games, even if they're ugly, as long as you get
That's the
that
only thing that
W.
matters.
Like sometimes teams are going to, it's the NFL. It's the NFL. Like, no, there should be no such thing as an easy win, except for what the Bills did to the Dolphins. Um, it's just, yeah, any team can come up and bite you, even a team like the Texans that is surprisingly 1-1 and has a better record than the Giants,
The issue
which
is
is,
Daniel Jones.
sad.
Jones is the issue.
I the thing that's frustrating about him is he's really talented, right? He makes throws that a lot of other quarterbacks cannot make, and then he makes throws that other quarterbacks
Yeah.
should make. And that's what's frustrating about Daniel Jones is, to me, everyone's like, oh, the receiver dropped it. I'm like, well, man, you got to put that right in his breadbasket. This is the NFL. Like, you can't miss opportunities like that. I understand drops are going to happen. They happen to everyone. And I see a lot of things with Daniel Jones that I noticed with Eli Manning. It's like, all right, if we can just, throw for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles, I think we win this game, right? And that didn't. Unfortunately, he played very well in the game against the Redskins, but the drop, the bad pass, hurt him. And Jason Garrett is a
Yeah,
problem
exactly.
too. His play calling down there. Yeah, when they got down on the 20 and all they needed to do was a couple first downs or a touchdown and the game was over, would have made a 2-possession game. Tom Coughlin,